would visit him, and he would teach a cover. And
how old were you?
I was probably... it was at the age of 10. The edge of 10, when I was just started, I got that guitar. And then pretty much like I started to learn covers on a regiment when I was 11. So. And
then...
But our shit, when we covered when we were doing the Kiss pantomime thing at Mom's birthday party, that was probably a couple years before that.
Yeah, it was. And before we even did the pantomime thing, do you remember that Mom used to just play bass, and then we would make songs.
Yeah.
Like each person would go kind of rap style, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like there's a beat.
For some reason, I don't know what the reason was. She probably jammed with vocalists, but she had a microphone hooked up to the amp too. She's like, yeah, she's so...
And then we'd record it on
like,
tape.
You have to appreciate her non-exclusivity, like, you know, like with her kids, like, she really introduced us, and she just didn't even mind. When she was practicing, she's so free-spirited, she's like, hey, do something, while she was playing to this drum machine. And she was just like, you know, hey, just say something on there, and that was really... I don't know, it was kind of cute, but then you don't realize how much that means to a kid. You know what I mean?
That is really true, to be included in something.
To just like doing. Say whatever you want, and then it's just like changed our fucking life.
It is really true. I remember it would take me a really long time to get the nerve to say anything. Most of the time it was just you, and I was just perfectly fine with being entertained that way. And then that chick Kayla that we used to hang out with when we were young, she would say shit, and I would be like, she needs to stop saying shit, because I'm like, and then you're like, no, let her do it, because you appreciated that somebody else was going besides you. But I just hated it. I was like, she's a creep, and this is weird. And so... my shit, you know, I'm a super planner, so I was like, I got a notepad and was trying to write shit down. You guys just went. I've never been let me lay on this beat real quick. I've never been that.
Shit, because I never had a problem with looking like a fool.
But it's not even just that. I just really can't. Yeah, it's just, I'm like, what if that doesn't rhyme? I'm going to be fucking embarrassed.
Yeah, I know. There's kind of like a sloppy victory to my whole life. I just like run into it. At least this used to be my mentality early on. I just kind of run into it, start doing it, fuck it up for a while.
But then you get it.
But then get it. And then get it according to that formula of just doing it.
It sounded like we lit it at the same time.
Yeah, just about. It was like a flam, though.
Okay, so you got the guitar, and you started playing. And I just want to know... We got to figure this out on the timeline of things. If Jamtown had to come first before I played drums, right?
Yeah,
before I really
it did, because
drums.
Jamtown, like, I started recording sounds after I'd been playing a couple years, and all of a sudden I just started using sound recorder on the computer, and
that shitty $20 Best Buy mic that you still
which
have.
which wasn't bought for me. It was bought for people to use for people to use webcam shit or whatever.
Yeah.
It was made for some, but they never used it, and that's the whole story of my whole life with any gear.
And remember, you used to put a sock on it so it wouldn't clip.
That was later on.
That was later I figured that shit out. That actually makes a lot of sense with the first recording, because it was like...
It was like, and then we made beats really better with the... Because the plosive made a really good bass sound. It's like... Like, the clipping was great. But anyways, I remember Jamtown started... I started to make fucking weird noises and shit. Which Pete, again, like... The confirmation and the affirmation of, like, you're on the right track was always there. Like, Pete was like, yeah, some of that sound effects shit is, like, really funny. The stuff you're doing is very cult. Like, I really feel like there's gonna be a cult... He was so nice. Like, he didn't have to say that shit. You know, thinking back, like, he could have just been like, yeah. But, like, you know, it's just, like, so crazy. It's like...
That is really true.
It's just, like, a streak.
He could have been, you know...
That's what it is. It's like, some people early on, they have a streak of seeming victories that build up, you know, confidence, which is a figment of all of our imagination.
You know what that reminds me of? Is that Pokemon episode where that fucking...
Yeah.
What is it? What's the crab?
Like, it was either... Oh, the crab, yeah.
It was the crab.
It's literally called Krabby, I think.
Yeah, Krabby. That is what it was, right? Are you sure? Yeah, okay, so... Basically what I was going to say is that to boost his confidence, they, like... made Meowth battle him, right? And fake, like, he fainted.
Yeah.
And then he got confidence weird. And then that literally made him evolve because of that. Because of doing that so many times.
that was really, like, yeah, exactly.
So maybe that's...
There's definitely a validity to that. But anyways, yeah, so that was 2003, I think, when I first started making sounds.
Okay, so that was only a little bit before I started playing drums then.
Yeah, it had to have been, like, I had been playing guitar for a while, which is weird to think. During that time, when I was just playing guitar, I'd made up the Bob Engel thing, and it was middle school, I think.
I remember the Bob Engel thing. You can explain that. It has nothing to do with music, really.
Well, Bob Engel, I don't know what gave me the idea, but I was in middle school. I was in, like, a computer lab. And I remember that I was with my friend named, he was Steve Turner. I remember his name, Steve Turner. And I remember I needed a name. The idea I had in my head, for some reason I knew that I needed a name, that I didn't want to come up with the name. I didn't want it to be all the same shade. So I'm like, come up with the name. I'm like, what's the name of it, dude? A random name. And at first he was like, what? I'm like, a random name. He's like, Bob Engel.
He fucking said that?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He didn't even know what it was for.
He just,
I never told him what it was for. He never ended up knowing. Like, I just was like, thanks, man. And
oh my god, and then he disappeared into the
then I just ran with it in a totally different direction.
And then he disappeared off the earth.
I think
born to say that name.
Bob Engel. And I'm like, okay, tight, thanks. And then I started making...
I saw Chris Eamon in the hallway, and then I think I maybe listened in on his conversation because he was talking to randos, and then it was like bragging about Bob Engel, and I'm like, oh dude, I know Bob Engel, and then he's like, oh yeah, cool, like, and then I did other facts he didn't list. So it was cool because between the two of us,
Jesus Christ,
between the two of us, we pretty much knew it all.
Okay,
and then these people are like, dude, where is he? Point him out. And then I'm like, you know, you'll see him. You'll just know, because I think you had facts about what he looked like. Something with some scar bullshit, something like that.
Oh, okay.
He got in a knife fight with something like that. I swear I'm not making that shit up. Because he would make these periodically to where after a while it was like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna remember all of this. So what I'd do is I'd go through this like 4 or 5 lists.
I used to print them out.
Yes, and I would get them. Yeah. Oh yeah, you'd hand them. But I just pick certain ones and
middle schoolers were so dumb.
Like
they would never lead it back to me. Like they never, you know what I mean? It wouldn't. I would hand them out, right? Those people would know that I handed them out. But they might. I think I did it.
I think it was
I did it
to keep the joke. If you're in on the joke, you know what I mean, you're it.
But I did it. I did it segregated though. I didn't hand out too many at the same time. I did one to one person. I'm like, hey man, I got this. And then that was that. But what's funny is there was a point in class before the class started.
Okay, wait.
Wait, go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You had magic card like holders and you put them in there. Am I right? Like laminated style.
Oh man, I
swear I felt like it was handy like that. But
damn.
Continue.
Oh, I think I might have made small ones.
Right? It was like a pocket one that you fucking keep in your wallet.
Oh my god, that's so crazy.
So you could have Bob Engel facts on the go. Okay.
That's so fucking crazy.
I swear I had those. I know I did.
This is a great story. Yeah, so there's this one time when it was 10 people in the class. The teacher wasn't even there. There's this one girl that was kind of nerdier, and I knew she had a crush on me, and she was kind of paying attention from the other side of the class. She was already sitting, I was already sitting, and then there was like about 8 people that were like kind of lingering, but they were talking about Bob Engel, and they had one of the fact sheets. And then the nerdy girl who was constantly paying attention to me, constantly paying attention to them because she was friends with them, she's like, you have to read the bottom one, and they're too dumb to even hear her. Like, they weren't, but the bottom fact on the first sheet was Bob Engel it was saying something that he was a fairy tale, but it was saying it in reverse order. It was like, Bob Engel is the backwards something of the land. I remember it was of the land, but it was like, oh, rumor, and I spelt rumor backwards. It was just so easy, is the backwards blah 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 of the land. And she's trying to tell them. She tried maybe 2 or 3 times before she just gave up. Because they just were always like talking about it. Yeah, there was in it. So she's like, you read you guys, you have to read the bottom one. And
they're like, you have to read that.
And then I was there the whole time, and I wasn't looking up to you, but I heard the whole thing, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny. Just being on the outside of the conspiracy.
But it's just so funny because I felt like like not like I didn't act or anything like in my younger days, you know, just like put on a show for people, but I just felt like that was one of the first times where I was just straight up lying to people. But by lying I mean acting, because me and Chris Eamon were just in on it talking about this guy, and it was so hard for me to not laugh or anything like that. And I think I did snicker like at the end, and then the girl's like, why is it funny? Because she really thought this was a guy at the school. Right. And I'm like, oh, just Bob Engel.
See, that's the thing, like, I wonder, like, why my and your life is so weird. And, like, and it's funny just to think, like, we're always scheming. Always, like, that was what we did for fun. Like,
because it's too boring.
Yeah, and what's funny is, like, no wonder I had this subtle condescension towards people who, like, got into trouble in these way more primitive and cliche ways. What's funny is, like, now, like, when we talk about these stories, I start to get why I had such an ego. Is like the way that I created like my own kind of chaos was in a more cerebral and kind of intellectual way, even if it was rudimentary and like and just, you know, lowbrow. Like it still was like unique. I didn't hear shit. I think it was over there. It's just the dog in the...
Okay.
No, I didn't hear shit. But anyways, I just think it's funny because like until we talk about this shit, I realize, oh man, all my life we've been like this. We've always been scheming all of our life.
That is very true. We could say one of the first ones we remember, which was the Pepsi thing, if we want to tell that story.
We could tell that story. But,
quick.
But the thing is, what's funny about making albums, it's like, we've always loved... I'm going to do the W.
Yeah, no, this is original Jammer, where he would game for fucking hours, sitting exactly like that.
I'm going to just...
And people would go, why is that comfortable?
I don't know why it's always been comfortable.
Oh, speaking of way back in the day, I would sit like this instead of Indian style, and in kindergarten, I would sit like this because I'm... Okay, and I remember people going, this is the sign that they would do when... Do you remember this? So instead of saying, sit Indian style, please, when you had to fucking...
They would do that.
They would do...
And get in your fucking
yes,
face?
Yes, they'd be like... And then I'd be like, I am. Like, literally, it's just one...
That's more like
difference.
the actual... That's more like that than Indian style is. Indian style would be like...
I just remember they'd be like, put your foot right. Like, is this really so different than Indian style? Like, just this awkward way? How about this? Like, fuck.
Yeah, fuck it.
So
Anyways,
that's
I don't
what
know
it
why I
reminds
got
me of.